Welcome students, this is Professor Pushkar Shinde. We will be continuing with the virtual 86 mode part 2 in this session. In the previous session we had discussed about virtual 86 mode, various concepts related to it, how we enter into virtual 86 mode, that is by setting the VM flag of the E flag register. So that is the way we enter into virtual 86 mode. Virtual 86 mode can be entered only through the protected mode. You cannot enter virtual 86 mode from real mode. You have to first be, the 80386 has to first be in protected mode, and from protected mode, by setting the VM bit of the E flag register, we can enter into virtual 86 mode. We also saw why we need virtual 86 mode. It is used to execute 8086 programs, 80186, 286. So old microprocessors before 80386, those processors programs can be executed on 80386. So it is for backward compatibility. So we have already discussed these concepts. Then we also saw linear address formation. So this also we briefly discussed in the previous session. So as you know, 8086 has a 20-bit address bus. So the address in 8086 is of 20 bit, whereas 80386 address bus is 32 bit. So in virtual 86 mode, a 20-bit linear address has to be created to support 8086 features. So that concept we saw how it works basically. So as we recall, the base address is appended at the right with 4 bits, whereas the offset is appended left with 4 bits, and then the base address and offset are added to get the linear address. This is what we had discussed in the previous session. So we'll continue further with the concepts of virtual 8086 mode. So the next concept in virtual 86 mode is the structure of v86 task. So what is the structure of a v86 task? A v86 task consists partly of the 8086 program to be executed and partly of the 80386 native mode code that serves as a virtual machine monitor. So virtual 86 task basically contains the 8086 program and partly 80386 native mode code that serves as a virtual machine monitor. As you all know, virtual 86 mode uses the multitasking feature of 80386 DX. So every 8086 program will be executed as a virtual 86 task, and that task is made up of 8086 program and a virtual machine monitor. The task must be represented by an 80386 TSS. So the task is represented by the 808386 TSS. Since virtual 86 mode uses the multitasking feature, so to store all the information of a virtual 86 task, a 80386 TSS is used. You cannot use 80286 TSS. The processor enters virtual 86 mode to execute the 8086 program and returns to protected mode to execute the monitor or other 80386 tasks. So basically the processor enters into virtual 86 mode to execute the 8086 program. So in virtual 86 mode, the 8086 program is executed using the TSS feature of the 80386, and it returns back to protected mode to execute the monitor or other 80386 tasks. So when it wants to execute the virtual 86 monitor, it goes into protected mode, or it wants to execute some other 80386 task, it goes into protected mode. So continuously there is switching from virtual 86 mode to protected mode. When it is executing in virtual 86 mode, the VM bit will be set to 1. When it switches to protected mode, the VM bit will be set to 0. So continuously the VM bit is set and reset whenever there is a change of mode. To run successfully in virtual 86 mode, an existing 8086 program needs the following: a virtual 86 monitor, operating system services. So in virtual 86 mode, it needs a virtual 86 monitor and operating system services. So this is a diagram which explains the entering and leaving the virtual 86 mode or the V86 mode. So this is a mode transition diagram. So basically from the initial entry, whenever there is a task switch or interrupt return, the processor switches to virtual 86 mode. So it executes the 8086 program. How it can reach to the virtual 86 mode is after a task switch or interrupt return is executed and the VM bit of the E flag is set to 1, then it enters into the virtual 86 mode and executes the 8086 program. Obviously this should be from the protected mode. It can enter into virtual 86 mode only from the protected mode. So it will enter into that mode and execute the 8086 program when there is a task switch or interrupt return executed. If it wants to switch from virtual 86 back to protected mode, the VM bit will have to be made 0 and upon an interrupt or exception, it can switch to virtual 86 monitor which is in protected mode. So whenever there is an interrupt or exception, it is handled in virtual 86 monitor, handled by the virtual 86 monitor which executes in protected mode. So the virtual 86 monitor basically executes in the protected mode. So how do you switch from the virtual 86 mode to virtual 86 monitor is by resetting the VM bit of the E flag register. So whenever there is an interrupt or exception, we all know that virtual 86 monitor handles the external interfaces of the 8086 program. So whenever let's say the program wants to read something from the keyboard, wants to display something on the monitor, there will be an interrupt which will be executed. So the 80386 will switch to the virtual 86 monitor in protected mode and handle the interrupt, and once that is completed, after interrupt return, it will go back to executing the 8086 program which has the code of the 8086 in the virtual 86 mode. So whenever there is an interrupt return, the VM flag will be set to 1 and the 80386 will enter into the virtual 86 mode. Again, if you want to switch from the virtual 86 mode to protected mode executing 80386 tasks, you can do it through a task switch. So whenever there is a task switch and the VM bit is set to 0, the processor will enter into the protected mode and execute other 80386 tasks. Once it completes that task or it wants to switch back to virtual 86 mode, there will be a task switch and the VM bit will be set to 1 and you will have the 80386 in the virtual 86 mode. So this is how you switch from virtual 86 mode to protected mode, either for handling the virtual 86 monitor or to execute some other 80386 tasks. This is how, using task switch, interrupt return and interrupts and exceptions, you can switch from one mode to another mode by using the VM bit of the E flag register. So by setting the VM bit, you enter into virtual 86 mode, and by resetting the VM bit, you enter into protected mode. And this triggers on an interrupt, exception, task switch or interrupt return. Processor can enter virtual 86 mode by either of two means: a task switch to an 80386 task loads the image of E flags from the new TSS with 1 in VM bit. So there is a task switch to an 80386 task, and the image in the E flag of the new TSS has 1 in the VM bit. That is, there is a task switch with VM bit having 1 value in the E flag register. So there is a task switch and the VM bit in the E flag register is having 1 value. In that case, you will be entering the virtual 86 mode. Or there is another method, an interrupt return IRET from a procedure of an 80386 task loads the image of E flag from the stack with 1 in the VM bit. So there is an interrupt return from a procedure of the 80386 task, and it loads E flag with VM bit having 1 value. So there is an interrupt return with E flag having VM bit value 1. So either there can be a task switch with VM bit 1, or there can be an interrupt return from a procedure with VM bit 1. So in either case, VM bit has to be 1 in the E flag register, and either you can have a task switch or you can have an interrupt return executed. In both cases, you can enter into virtual 86 mode of 80386. Now, how does the processor leave the virtual 86 mode? You all know that by clearing the VM bit, the processor can exit the virtual 86 mode into protected mode. So processor leaves virtual 86 mode when an interrupt or exception occurs with the VM bit as 0 in the E flag register. So there are two cases. The interrupt or exception causes a task switch. A task switch from the virtual 86 task to any other task loads E flag from the TSS of the new task with VM bit as 0. So you can leave the virtual 86 mode when there is an interrupt or exception causing a task switch, and the new task which is loaded has a VM bit value of 0 in the E flag register. So using interrupt or exception, we can switch from virtual 86 mode to protected mode by clearing the VM bit. The second method is the interrupt or exception vectors to a privilege level 0 procedure. The processor stores the current setting of the E flag on the stack and then clears the VM bit. So that means there is an interrupt or exception vector to a privilege level 0 procedure, and the VM bit has been cleared. In that case also, the 80386 will switch from virtual 86 mode to protected mode. So to enter into virtual 86 mode, you need to set the VM bit, and to leave the virtual 86 mode, you need to clear the VM bit of the E flag register. So I hope by this two sessions, part 1 and part 2 on virtual 86 mode, you are clear with the virtual 86 mode concepts. Thank you.